NASA helped make contact, but refused to put its name on it. Why would the world's leading space agency quietly support a movie, then step away? And here's the real question. Did you actually understand what Ellie saw? Because if you blinked, you missed the most important message of the entire film. Today, we're revisiting Contact, not as entertainment, but as a warning, a love letter to science, and the final philosophical gift of Carl Sagan. Point 4 hook, first 5 to 10 seconds. NASA helped make contact, but refused to put its name on it. Why would the world's leading space agency quietly support a movie, then step away? And here's the real question. Did you actually understand what Ellie saw? Because if you blinked, you missed the most important message of the entire film. Today, we're revisiting Contact, not as entertainment, but as a warning, a love letter to science, and the final philosophical gift of Carl Sagan. INTRO, this was never about aliens. Most sci-fi movies ask, what if aliens attack? Contact asks something far more unsettling. What if they don't? What if they simply reach out, and we discover that we are the problem? Released in 1997 and directed by Robert Zemeckis, with Jodie Foster leading the cast, Contact quietly slipped into theaters and left audiences uneasy. Not scared, uncomfortable, because it forced us to stare directly at belief, evidence, power, and our place in the universe. Let's break down what the movie really said, and why it still matters nearly 30 years later. Part 1. Why NASA helped, but stayed silent. Here's something most viewers never learn. NASA gave Contact rare behind-the-scenes scientific support. Not money, but access. They advised on signal verification protocols. They allowed realistic recreations of radio astronomy facilities. They supported the depiction of SETI-style data analysis. The film even drew visual inspiration from real observatories like SETI Institute, the Arecibo Observatory, and the Very Large Array. So why did NASA attach its logo? Because Contact crosses a line. It doesn't just show science. It questions meaning. It asks whether humanity is emotionally mature enough to face cosmic truth. NASA's internal stance was simple. This movie wandered into philosophy and existence, territory too sensitive for an agency meant to stay neutral. In other words, they helped build the bridge, but didn't want their name on the crossing. Part 2, that one-take opening is a lie, a brilliant one. Remember the opening scene? Young Ellie runs upstairs, opens the medicine cabinet, and suddenly, boom, the camera is inside the mirror. It feels like one magical shot. It isn't. It's a carefully stitched visual illusion, combining multiple plates and reflections so precisely your brain accepts it as continuous reality. Why does that matter? Because Contact immediately teaches you its core rule. Don't trust what feels seamless. Truth is layered. Part 3, the signal from Vega and why it had to be Hitler. When Ellie discovers the signal, it comes from Vega, about 26 light-years away. And what does it carry back? Adolf Hitler's 1936 Olympic broadcast. Not for shock value, for physics. That was one of Earth's earliest powerful transmissions to escape our atmosphere. So when aliens reply, they don't send poetry. They send us back us. Here's the quiet horror. The universe doesn't judge. It mirrors. Whatever humanity broadcasts, cruelty, beauty, noise, that's what echoes outward. Part 4. The Machine, Gateway, or Trojan Horse. After decoding tens of thousands of pages of alien data, scientists realize something chilling. The message isn't flat. It's three-dimensional. A structure, a machine. And suddenly everyone asks the same question. Is this transportation? Or is this a weapon? Governments panic. Security councils argue. Religious extremists explode the first device. Yet humanity builds a second one anyway. Why? Because, as Sagan believed, fear is not a reason to reject knowledge. That single idea drives the entire film. Part 5. Ellie Arroway isn't just a character. Ellie is inspired by real astronomer Jill Tarter, but she also carries something deeply personal. Sagan's wife and co-writer, and Drew Yin, confirmed Ellie reflects her own experience. Being underestimated. Being isolated in male-dominated science. Using curiosity to survive grief. Ellie doesn't chase aliens. She listens because she lost her father. Science becomes her way of coping with absence. That childhood radio scene? That's the emotional engine of the entire movie. Part 6, Science versus Faith, the question that breaks Ellie. Near the end, Palmer Joss asks Ellie, "Can you prove you loved your father?" She can't. And that's the point. Sagan designed this moment to mirror religious testimony. Ellie suddenly stands where believers usually stand, with experience, but no measurable evidence. For once, science has nothing to offer her. Only truth she personally lived. This is Sagan's quiet masterpiece. He doesn't pit science against faith. He shows they ask different questions. Part 7, the 18 hours of static, the real ending. Everyone thinks Ellie fell straight through the machine. No witnesses, no proof, just static. But buried in the final moments is a devastating detail. The recording equipment ran for 18 hours. Exactly the amount of time Ellie said she was gone. That means something happened. But it's classified. Sound familiar? History is full of truths locked behind clearance levels. The Manhattan Project worked exactly this way. Contact never says the government always lies. It simply reminds us. World-shattering discoveries don't arrive with press conferences. They arrive in silence. Part 8. Carl Sagan's goodbye. Here's what makes this even heavier. Carl Sagan died just months before Contact premiered. This wasn't just a movie. It was his farewell letter to humanity. A final reminder that we are small. Curiosity matters. Listening is an act of hope. He didn't give us aliens. He gave us perspective. Actionable takeaways. What Contact really teaches. If you strip away the sci-fi, here's what remains. Knowledge always comes with uncertainty. Power tries to control discovery. Faith and science aren't enemies. They answer different human needs. Evidence doesn't always arrive in ways we can immediately accept. Sometimes the bravest thing is simply to keep listening. Contact wasn't made to comfort you. It was made to challenge you. It asks whether humanity can face the unknown without turning it into fear. Whether we can hear something bigger than ourselves, without needing to own it. And maybe that's why NASA stepped back. Because Contact doesn't just look for aliens. It examines us. So tell me, what moment from Contact stayed with you the longest? Drop it in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into classic films that hide uncomfortable truths, like this video, subscribe, and stay curious. Because sometimes, the most important signals are the ones we almost ignore.